Welcome to Adventures in Accessibility, a podcast that explores the far reaches of disability, access, and inclusion, with your host, Emily Schumann.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adventures in Accessibility. Today's guests are Scott Applebaum and Conor O'Mara. Together they host Conor's Corner, a radio show out of St. Paul, Minnesota, where they talk about sports, music, life, and whatever's on their minds. As an autistic person, it was Conor's dream to have his own radio show, and he did it. Conor's joy for life has inspired many others to embrace their dreams and take a chance. Well, welcome, Conor and Scott. Thank you so much for being our guests today on Adventures in Accessibility.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited.
Yeah, we are too. So some of our listeners might not be familiar with you and your radio show, so I'd love to hear from both of you about your background and how Conor's Corner came to be. And if you can explain what Conor's Corner is for us, that would be wonderful.
Well, I have a show called Conor's Corner on Monday mornings. Yeah, when we talk about life and sports.
And where does your show air?
94.1 LP Frogtown Community Radio.
It's officially WFNU 94.1.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, you don't want to get in trouble by your bosses.
That's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, We are in Minnesota. It's a weekly live show, although we had a little flood in the studio. So we do it live on Mondays, and then it goes out like this to the podcast world. We also do it on Facebook Live, so they get to see Conor and I guess, interact together. It's got a format. He does well. Do you want to say what you do during the show, bud?
I sing.
That's the best part. At the very end, he sings.
Oh.
A top 10 song list every week, depending on what's going on. And then sometimes we have guests. We talk, like he said, sports, politics, his life. We talk a lot about his life and all the things that he deals with, being a person with disabilities and kind of just go through where, what he's been doing the last week. And people call in, people write in on Facebook. It's a lot of fun. It's an hour, goes fast. And how long have we done this, bud?
For a year and a half.
Yeah, we've done it about a year and a half, and we've done a bunch of on location shows. So it's a lot of fun. I'm lucky to be able to sit next to him every week.
That's great. So I'd love to hear the story of how did the radio show come to be? How did you get that started?
Do you remember, or should I tell it?
I got it started. I was a little boy. I was in Focus Beyond. I was doing a show, like talking on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? Heck with it. Let me have a show.
So Focus Beyond was your transition school, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And he did a little podcasting, and he and his family had a meeting set up with the radio station about maybe doing a podcast. Did a test show, realized in about 10 seconds he was a star and he had a lot to say, and kind of just went from there, went live on the air, and it's been awesome.
And Scott, how did you get connected? Did you know the family before? Did you know Conor?
Yep. So Conor and I have been buddies, and I've been friends with the family. And like I said, I have done a couple podcasts, one with my family and then some other ones. And so I knew a little bit about podcasting. So I went along to the initial meeting just because they didn't know, what they didn't know. They didn't know what to ask. So we started talking about it, and then we decided to do maybe a 10-minute test show. So we came back and did it. And like I said, instantly, I knew that, Conor had an amazing story. In that very first show, I just said to Conor, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to have my own radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, we're just like, I think this is going to happen. And, and on that, WFNU was very nice. But as you know, you can, to have a podcast is, a lot of people can have a podcast. But WFNU put him on live.
Mm-hmm.
On the air live.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he doesn't have any. You can ask him about it. He's never nervous. Loves to talk, but that's a big step. So they put him on live, which then it becomes a podcast. So, and as you know, even though you might not be live, to just sit every week in front of a microphone, it's not the easiest thing to just start talking and hold conversations. And he was just a natural at it. So we really owe a huge thank you to WFNU for giving them that voice to be live and then to go from there. So,
Yeah. Do you know how many listeners you have?
A lot.
yeah.
A lot.
Like
millions or thousands?
We don't have millions, I don't believe. But I do think that there's times we have thousands. And
I think it's somewhere, near, yeah, I think it's in the thousands.
Yeah, we call it the hottest radio show on the planet. And he gets people that write in from literally all over, well, and you guys, literally all over the country, and people in Ireland and people. So he does reach a lot of people. Facebook, we can kind of gauge who's watching it. And there's 500, 600, 700 on Facebook each week. And then all the different, we're not sure who does it live other than the Facebook portion, but there's a lot of people. And the cool thing is it's from, you guys have reached out to us. We've been on a podcast out east somewhere, many different podcasts, and some, which is awesome. Some, others with disabilities that are doing this have reached out to Conor to either be on the show or have him on their shows. So it's just been a pretty incredible experience.
Mm-hmm. So Conor, it sounds like your show you talk a lot about sports and also about life. So I'd love to know, what are your favorite sports teams and when did you first become interested in sports?
My favorite sports team is the Vikings.
Okay. You're going to have to help me out. I'm not a sports person.
That's football.
All right.
Football.
All right.
Okay. Football. Got it.
All right. I'll help you out.
Do you only like football or do you like all sports?
I like baseball, I like basketball.
Is football your favorite?
Yep.
Have you always been interested in football and sports ever since you were little?
Oh, yes. Ever since I was 2, I started watching sports.
Have you ever met any famous athletes?
I should say I met Harmon Gill, Kent Herbeck.
He's actually met a lot, and he's had a lot on his show. He's had 2 current Minnesota Vikings, they're the football team in town. So he's had Viking players, hockey players. He's had some really cool people that he's interviewed, from sports to politics to all over.
That's great. How do you prepare for an interview, Conor? You just go with the flow?
Yeah.
So, Conor, is it right that you have autism?
Yeah.
And so for listeners who don't know what autism is, how would you describe it?
It's a thing with the disability.
What system does it affect?
Oh.
Does it affect your brain?
Affect my learning.
Learning. Okay.
Do you want to maybe mention some of the things that you struggle's the wrong word, but some of the things that that you sort of struggle with autism?
Struggle with anxiety.
And how do you deal with that?
Take breaks.
Well, ironically, he doesn't like a lot of noise and big crowds.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's so famous and popular, he's always in big crowds with lots of noise. I think you're pretty good at it now, though. You're handling it right.
Yep.
You seem cool and collected to me, and you're never nervous about meeting people and being on the radio.
No, I'm not. Are you in Colorado?
I am.
It's your house, right?
No, you what you see is just a background. I'll turn it off so you can see where I'm really sitting. It's not as exciting. So this is just my office. You can see there's like a window behind me.
It's your office in your house?
No, in my office building.
Do you have a you're ever on the radio?
We have a podcast. I have sometimes been interviewed on live radio for the organization that I work for, but mostly we just do this podcast, which of course is pre-recorded. So it's not quite as much pressure as what you do.
This is Conor. He just loves to talk to people, and by the time this is over, he'll have asked you more questions than you'll ask him, I promise.
That's great. That's great.
That's his charm.
Is it easier for you to ask people questions than answer questions, Conor?
Yes.
Why do you think that is? Is that due to your autism, or is that just because that's how you are?
That's with my autism.
Yeah.
Conor is probably the nicest person you'll ever meet. If you see him in a crowd, he'll walk right up and introduce himself. He just wants to talk to people, get to know you, be friends. I'm not just saying it because he's my boss. He's probably the nicest person I've ever met. So,
So Conor, let's say you're talking to someone like me who doesn't know sports and who's not a real big sports person, what kinds of things would you talk to me about?
I talk to you about other things that you know.
How would you figure out what I know?
I'd ask you, hey, what do you know?
What do I know? What if I'm like, I know all kinds of things?
That I would talk to you about different things that you like.
He's very big on current events, so COVID and things like that. He's very versed on it.
So did you hear, Connor, that the CDC just said we don't have to wear masks anymore if we've been vaccinated?
Yes, I heard that.
What do you think about that?
I think it's okay.
It's okay.
It's a lot of pressure in our Governor Walz, ended his mask mandate this morning. He does it. Signs executive order.
He ended it this morning?
Yes, he did.
Wow, that was fast.
Because he thought he wanted to wait till the 70% of Minnesotans get one dose, and he said, nope, we're doing it today.
Wow.
The problem is he's going to let stores do it. Stores are not going to go buy it, which would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he officially ended it, but that doesn't mean the mayors of towns and stores.
Mm-hmm.
I think we still have one. He just officially did it. So
who still has one?
Well, like the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul and the big cities still have a mask mandate. So
what about Mendota Heights?
Mendota Heights is where I live. It's a very small area. I don't know about Mendota Heights, but I think we'll still have to wear them in stores and things for a while.
My God, that sucks.
Yeah.
Has it been hard for you wearing masks?
Oh, yeah.
Not your favorite?
Not my favorite.
Well, just explain to everyone listening, COVID in general, when it first started, especially someone with autism, what are the challenges with that?
So speaking, you have autism. When it first started, I was freaking out what I was going to do, how I was going to get my life back.
He was so used to routines, and basically he's got a pretty set routine every day of the week, and like everyone, it was just that didn't happen anymore. So certainly a challenge and a struggle.
Yeah. And did that cause your anxiety to get worse?
Maybe. Yes, it did.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've developed some more skills now that you've gone through it for more than a year?
Yeah.
Do you think that's helped you at all, or has it just been bad the whole time?
It's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Zoom is one of them, because neither one of us had ever heard of Zoom before. And
oh, wow.
We had to do the show by Zoom, and full disclosure, Conor, he's a people person. So Zoom, and I'm with him. Zoom is not at the top of his list. So he's had to really learn how to deal with Zoom and distractions and things like that. And he's really good at it now.
So tell me about your background. You said you're in Ireland.
I'm in Ireland. This is Ireland right here.
And I can tell that you have a very Irish sounding name. Is that where your family's from?
Yeah. My family's from Ireland.
Have you ever been there?
Yes. I went there for my cousin's wedding.
Oh, when was that?
That was like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking forward to going back?
Yeah. What
did you like about Ireland?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Conor's a world traveler. He's been a lot of places.
Yeah. So I heard you on the news. I went on your website, Conor, and I watched some of your clips and things. And on the news, you had said, "Don't let your disability define who you are." And so I was wondering if you could talk more about that, and what advice would you give to other people with disabilities who want to follow their dreams like you have?
Oh, I would say don't define who you are, and don't let your disability. You're still a good person no matter what your disability says and does.
I love that.
He's really with this show, he's had the opportunity to really become a role model. The show is very entertaining. We have a lot of fun, and we talk, sports and politics, but it gets serious. And there's usually at least once during each show where he has a message for people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. The really cool thing is we now have several callers who were listening and maybe didn't have the courage or to call in. They call in now. And so our show, we have a lot of people with disabilities that call in, mm-hmm. that tell Conor what a role model he is, that write in on Facebook, that reach out to Conor. And he's really a tremendous role model. And he's, living proof. His dream was to have a radio show. I guess everyone needs maybe a chance or a voice. And here he is.
Speaking of living proof, you just said that. The Bruce Springsteen song, I was living proof.
I didn't know I was quoting Bruce Springsteen. I don't like him very much, but okay. I guess I did. Yeah, Conor's a very, very big Bruce Springsteen and Elvis fan.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about, what have you learned about autism or people with disabilities through your work?
I guess the two main things, and we sort of touched it with COVID, Connor is definitely a creature, and I'm sure many people autistic, a creature of routine.
Mm-hmm.
The very first show we ever did, I had a little Diet Coke, and he was staring at it. And I said, "Do you want it?" And he said, "Yes." And I have had to bring him a Diet Coke every single show since. So just that little thing. And then his schedule, we do the show on Mondays. There's somewhere that he works on Tuesdays. He goes to another work on Wednesday. He does the same, and just learning how the routine is, so Connor and I talk maybe 4 or 5 times a day. We do the show all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And just from talking to him, his concerns are the routine. What's going to happen tomorrow? Are we going to do the show next Monday? So I've learned a lot about that. I've also learned, and I just said it, that everyone needs a voice, and
right.
That's the main thing. And he's, like I said, he's proof that you can follow your dreams. Obviously it's difficult, and we can never imagine really what Connor and others go through, but
mm-hmm.
sometimes you just need a voice, and I'm just, like I said, I just sit by him. He and I talk. It's not like we're, they send me he writes a script with his dad, and they send it to me, and we go off of it, and it's just little bullet points, and we talk. And but I mean, I guess the routine, and I just learned that more people, and not just people with disabilities, but people in general, just need a voice. I'm like I said, I'm very lucky to sit by him every week.
That's wonderful. Conor, do you have plans for the future? I mean, do you plan on doing the radio show forever? Is that going to be your final career, or do you hope to do other things with your life?
Yeah, I hope to do other things in my life as well,
Like what?
like working for the Twins.
Is that a sports team?
Yeah,
Baseball team, yes.
Okay. What would you like to do for the Twins?
I like to be a greeter. They need greeters.
Oh, very cool.
He would be very good at that. Does that mean I'm out of a job?
No. You're still in a job.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, but what in general, you want to maybe move out one day and things like that, right? Talk about that.
I like to move out one day.
So you're still living at home?
Yeah.
But you're so young, so you got plenty of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's very young. How about dating?
Not really interested right now.
Really? Okay.
Do you feel like you want to have a family one day?
Yep.
You want to have kids?
Yes.
How many kids do you want to have?
Like 3.
Oh, very nice. I only have 1 kid, and I feel like that's enough.
I have 3. I'll talk to him later about
that. Well, so I don't know. I guess maybe I can tell you a little bit about what our center does, what our work is. So we're one of the country's 10 Americans with Disabilities Act information and technical assistance centers. So we help people understand their rights and responsibilities under the law. So part of what I was wondering from you all is do you have any experience with the ADA? Is that a law that you know about? When did you learn about it? Have you ever had to use it to get services or leverage your rights? So anything you have to say about that would be certainly interested in hearing.
Connor, your dad, right?
Yeah, my dad is part of that. He does the American Disabilities Act. He enforces it.
He does. Tell me more about that. Where does he work?
He works on Maryland when you're calling Edina.
He's part of a law firm, but they do a lot of work with the people with disabilities and the state. And I don't want to misspeak, but he does a lot of work in that area. And Connor, I mean, we do talk about, on the show with the government and funding and things like that all the time, don't we? He definitely has opinions on that.
Yes, I do.
Do you have other friends with different types of disabilities? Do you have to?
Yes. In fact, yeah, I do.
Tell me about that.
I have a friend that I have all sorts of friends that have people with disabilities.
Well, so Connor's part of the local Special Olympics. There's a group called the Highland Friendship Club. There's a lot of groups that Connor's involved with with people with disabilities, that they interact, with COVID, it's starting to get a little better, but before they would do different outings. You're going to start golf soon, but right?
Yeah, I'm going to start golf in June.
He has a lot of different activities with people with disabilities.
So have you seen your friends with disabilities like struggle to get around? Do you have friends who maybe are in wheelchairs?
Yeah, I have some friends that are in wheelchairs.
Yeah. So part of what the ADA does is, makes it so that the physical spaces and buildings have to be accessible to people who have those types of mobility disabilities. So I wondered if you had seen anything, had any personal experiences with seeing places be inaccessible or, not real disability friendly.
No, a lot of buildings I've been in are disability friendly.
That's great. It's good to hear.
Hey, Scott, you mind if I ask these people about my right?
Go ahead.
What is my right
You're right for what?
as a person with disability?
Well, you have all kinds of rights as a person with a disability. The ADA provides protection for people with disabilities in places of public life. So things like employment, when you go to a store, when you have to go to a county building, when you go to vote. So anytime you are in public or you have some sort of a public life activity, that's what the ADA protects people from discrimination. So for example, employers, if you get a job, say for the twins, your employer has to accommodate you for your disability so that you can perform the essential functions of the job.
What does accommodate mean?
That means they have to provide you with assistance or give you extra time maybe, or, give you that routine that you like. They just have to give you what you need so that you have an equal opportunity to participate in employment. Does that make sense?
You'd be my employer, right?
Me?
You're asking for a job?
You want to move to Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But do you like the Broncos?
I like the Broncos.
Do you like the Avs?
Yeah.
No, we don't like the Avs. They're about to beat probably our hockey team in a few weeks.
No, we play the Golden Knights.
I know, but after that, we'd have to play the Avs. So we actually, right before the election, we actually had the Secretary of State of Minnesota on, and he talked about the voting rights of people with disabilities, and Conor had a lot of questions as to, how people with disabilities can vote and their rights and all that. So it was very interesting. Yeah,
definitely. There are several laws that pertain to voting and people with disabilities, because that's a big one. That's one of the main things that we can do as adults in society is, and like you said, Scott, that's one of the ways that we get to use our voice is by voting. So it's really important that it's accessible to people with disabilities.
I should just say in other countries, they don't allow you to vote.
If you're a person with a disability?
No, just in general, citizens in other countries can't vote. They cannot vote.
Yeah. What do you think about being a person with a disability in America? Do you think that's the best country to be in if you have a disability, or do you think there's others that do it better?
I think some people still make fun of me in the United States for my disability.
That must be hard.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I say, you know what? I know you're trying to see me as a bad person, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're a great person.
And then on Mondays, he goes and has a huge radio show all over the planet. And they don't have that, right, Conor?
Yeah.
They don't have
that.
So they can't say anything anyway.
They're probably just jealous.
Oh, yeah, no.
Conor, actually, speaking of politics, he's, you want to let them know that you might run one day, or?
Oh, please tell me.
You ask him.
You want me to tell him?
Yeah.
Well, Conor's, he's threatened a few times, but whether it's the mayor or the governor, I think the politics might be in his future. Now, he's got to be careful, because if he runs, he's going to win. So he's very popular.
I probably won't win the governor.
Oh, I think you might if you run.
How do you know that?
Just a hunch. I just a hunch.
You think the current governor is going to run?
Our current governor going to run again? I suppose if he finds out you're running, he won't. But I really don't know.
I just don't think he will.
Here's your opportunity.
Well, I was going to say, what are some of the policies that you would that would be important to you if you were governor?
Well, policy number one is trying to make I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, what's bothers you right now? Is there anything that bothers you with our government right now that you would change?
What bothers me right now is to work with the legislative
Yeah, on.
disability funding.
So what would you do with disability funding? Where would you put that money?
I put into day training programs and group homes, how to get them improved,
Yeah.
how to get them remodeled.
Are you interested in living in a group home, or you want to live on your own?
I want to live my own.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have me over for dinner and stuff, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, I'm gonna have you over for dinner.
Okay, cool. Who's cooking though?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I need some help with that. I need some help cooking.
We all do.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
He works at a pizza place right now
Yep.
every Thursday.
Wow. So
Every
you have
Thursday.
two, you're saying you have two jobs?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that hard to manage two jobs? Or you like
It's
it?
actually 3 jobs.
Yeah, he's got
Okay.
more.
What's your third job?
I work at Lunds and Barley's in St. Paul, Minnesota.
It's a grocery store.
Oh, it sounds like a bar.
When Connor's there, it pretty much is.
Very cool. Well, I'd love to know more about just where our listeners can go to get in touch with you all, to listen to your show, to send notes to Conor. That would be great.
You want to give him your website, bud, or?
My website is conorradio.org.
Yeah, so that's conororadio.org. And on that, you can find old shows and how to listen to shows and emails and Twitter and a lot of the articles that you mentioned. He's been on, how many times have you been on TV, the news? 3 times?
3 times.
Yeah, newspapers, lots of different articles. So you can find everything on conororadio.org. You can buy shirts.
Merch.
We got merch.
All right.
A lot of his we talked about singing. All of his top 10 lists from singing are on there. And then I think he's got even a special section of Conor Sings Elvis, believe it or not. So a lot of cool things on there.
So what's on your top 10 list this week?
Yeah, what are we singing Monday?
No, we don't know.
So last Monday we did a show from Como Lake, and I think it was top 10 songs sitting by the lake or something.
This guy from I don't know what.
Oh yeah, we don't need. Yeah, when we're out and about, sometimes people stop by and everyone has an opinion. So we'll just look at. We have some. Yeah, it happens, but
Yeah, it happens a lot.
yeah, it's okay.
Somebody didn't like your top 10 list?
He didn't really listen. He just had his own agenda, and he decided to let us know. And he wasn't exactly invited, but yeah, it is what it is. We got through it.
The price of being famous, right, Conor?
Yep.
He didn't have
So
a
it makes the world go
microphone. He
round.
didn't have a microphone, which was probably the best part.
Anyways, but yeah, so our website has a lot of cool things, and I would definitely check out our show, because at the end of the show when Conor sings, he's got an incredible voice, a lot of fun. And I would say that if you listen to his show, it's very hard to not have a good day after listening to his show. That's for sure.
I would agree with that. We'll definitely have our listeners check out your show. And thank you so much for being on with us. Is there anything we didn't ask you that you want to talk about before we get off?
Nope. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
You have one more message for people with disabilities?
Oh, yeah, one more message I forgot. Well, those of you that listen to Connor's Corner, keep listening, keep doing what you're doing, and see you Monday.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Adventures in Accessibility. Tune in next time for another dive into the unknown.
Adventures in Accessibility is hosted and produced by Emily Schumann, and our sound engineer is Jessica Lucania. This podcast is a project of the Rocky Mountain ADA Center and is funded under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. Grant number 90DP 0094-01-00. This production is intended solely for entertainment and informal guidance and should not be considered legal advice. The opinions expressed by guests are not necessarily held or endorsed by the Rocky Mountain ADA Center.